Hi guys, welcome back to Chaz's No Bullshit Reptile Advice. I believe we're on episode 26 now, so we're going through them at a rate of knots. Questions are still coming through thick and fast, which is great. Remember that in the community section, there is a place where I have said we need more questions. And the more posts we get in there, the better. I can use them to be able to answer the questions moving forward. The good thing is I never know what you're going to ask, and it's a bit of a lucky dip, and sometimes you're going to put me on a bit of a sticky wicket or a... not somewhere that's not necessarily in my comfort zone or my wheelhouse, and that's good because, you know, a lot of the times people will sort of paint themselves to be this expert that knows everything and, you know, completely, yeah, I'm the complete reptile keeper, and we're not. You know, we're humans, we have flaws, we have weaknesses, chinks in the armor, all the rest of it. And I believe that this question today kind of puts me in that realm. So, without further ado, today's question comes from Zach Van Arsdale. I know your experience with HOTS is limited, HOTS being venomous snakes to the uninitiated. Or at least I believe it is. I believe you stated such in an earlier video. I did, Zach. But what would you consider to be the proper steps leading up to getting into HOTS? What would you consider the prerequisites? I, one day, would like to keep some species of rattlesnake, potentially the eastern diamondback or a pair, but they also are a bit on the endangered side, so the species may change. But I am in no personal hurry, as HOTS are definitely a next step animal and should not be taken lightly. Thanks, and keep up the amazing content. Right, well, Zach, thank you ever so much for the question. It's an excellent question. It's where I do this, put my hand up, and openly admit I have never kept venomous snakes. I've kept what we call the pistoglyphic snakes, rear-fanged snakes, and they have been either removed from the dangerous wild animal licence that we have in the UK, or they've never been on there and they're just mild envenomations, and nothing that would be considered life-threatening, certainly nothing that would approach the realm of hot. You're quite right with it saying it's definitely a next step animal. It's not just definitely a next step animal, it's definitely an advanced level animal. I think that when we consider that something can hospitalise you as a result of erroneous husbandry procedures and protocols, I think we've got to put that straight into advanced. I don't think you have to pass go and collect 200 on that one. I think that's straight into advanced. And I'm not sure that many hot keepers, if they're serious about the education of people wanting to get into hots, would argue that point. I certainly don't see them arguing that point. I think that they need to be taken incredibly seriously. I think that realistically, as a keeper, myself or yourself, you know, when you're looking at yourself, when you're inspecting what you're about and thinking about what gets you going, what makes the juices flow, yeah man, I'm into this. Me, weird pretty little rat snakes. The mandarins I talked about the other day, totally in my wheelhouse. The Oreocryptophis porphyria coxi, bamboo rat snake, beautiful. The Leohetrodon madagascarensis that I was asked about with the breeding prep video, superb. Tiger rat snakes, spilotes, dry mark on the crebos and indigo snakes. So these are the stuff that gets me excited and gets me going. Certain pythons, a good diamond python, a really good jungle carpet python. The Pacific island boas, the Candoia, wow, super colours, really weird snakes. That's what gets me going. There are certain keepers where the attraction is to look at venomous snakes and get the same reaction. The problem that we've got is that certainly within the UK we are having to jump through hoops to be able to get those. I have never jumped through the said hoops. I actually, by weird extension, by having a pet shop license in my name, could keep hots if I wanted to. The simple truth is I don't. But there are people that do. And there are specialist shops that do. Two that spring to mind in the UK are House of Venom and Wrigley's, who both have got excellent reputations. And for me, if somebody contacted me and was serious and wasn't a bullshitter, because the other side to this is there are a lot of bullshitters out there. Oh yeah, I want to keep a rattlesnake because I'm well hard it. And that for me is, yeah, a turn off to the point where I'm probably just going to call you a dickhead. But then I know that these two shops take it incredibly seriously. They take what they do incredibly seriously. They enjoy a laugh like anybody. But when it comes to switch on, animals are out, it's time to be serious, I don't think people can touch them. I think that they've quite rightly built up a reputation that's commensurate to the way that they handle themselves around their animals. Personally, hots and venomous snakes scared the shit out of me. I was once within relatively close proximity of some pit vipers at leaping lizards. They'd come in because somebody was picking them up. And even behind glass, I felt myself on edge, and I was taking photographs of them. Also up at a wholesaler's, Tom Halvorsen, I saw some Wagler's pit vipers and some other pit vipers, maybe a Pope's, could have been a Pope's pit viper, and I was in very close proximity to them, and a couple of weird puff adders, crazy pattern puff adders. I think I saw some on Alex J's House of Venom post the other day. They're a special type of puff adder, really pretty. I think they might be like a little one, I don't know, actually it's not my wheelhouse at all. And they put me on edge. It makes me nervous that I'm in the presence of something. And this is odd because I would go in with an 18-foot anaconda or a tick and be like, meh. And I suppose it's what you're used to doing. Maybe I would become conditioned and get used to it. Maybe these guys permanently have that fear and manage it and use it to switch themselves on to be able to do the task at hand. I don't know, but it is an interesting question, and because it's not my speciality and I feel like I'm kind of drowning here, that's why it's an excellent question, because what you're doing is exposing something that is not my realm. From what I understand, from the conversations over the years I've had, when I've been sat in a bar talking to somebody who keeps hots and, you know, introducing species, blah, blah, blah. So, from my understanding, people go for the eyelash viper, one of the rattlesnakes, or a puff adder, or gaboon viper. I believe that the reasoning being is that these are stocky, relatively sedentary snakes who will stand and deliver and make you aware of their displeasure at you being around them. They're not necessarily going to pursue you as a matter of course. And things like taipan, mamba and cobra potentially will give chase. I've seen some of the videos from, is it Viper Keeper, Viper Lover, someone anyway online, who's feeding the cobras in the rack system. They just come charging out. I would literally shit myself where I stood if that happened to me. No chance, couldn't cope with it at all. So if I was going to enter into it, I would want something that would, kind of the way that a bull snake or a pine snake will. I'm going to make a noise. I'm going to tell you I'm really, really angry that you're in my tank. But I'm not going to chase you because I'm big and fat and can't be arsed. I think they're probably the better ones. Rattlesnake. Yes, I'm going to show you my displeasure by shaking my bum at you ferociously. So these potentially are going to be the choices that we make. As far as potency of venom and all the rest of it, I can't really comment at length, but I think it's relatively accepted that the elapids are incredibly problematic snakes. From that perspective, and the strength and virility of the venom makes them an issue. So really they are the top end of an already advanced branch of herpetology. things like the eyelash vipers, you're going to be very, very uncomfy, but I don't potentially see it as being a life-threatening bite. And obviously all of these will require hospitalisation, treatment and anti-venom for it not to be a major problem. So yeah, if I was going to do it, I would make sure that I was well researched and I was well experienced with regular species and understood husbandry requirements. I think being able to work your way around a snake anyway and being able to identify and treat issues that will arise over the years of keeping would be a good start. So that kind of puts the kibosh on it for 10 years until we've really cut our teeth, and we're not just competent, we're confident keepers where we know what we're doing and we're happy that we know what we're doing. What I would then do would be to seek out experienced keepers that would be able to guide me or potentially mentor me, and I would be prepared that may cost me money to be able to do it, as people's time is never free. And with a specialist subject like dangerous wild animals, like the venomous snakes, you do need to potentially talk to people like Alex Jays and Julian Clare and Dave Clemens at House of Venom and Wrigley's, and you would talk to them about how they would approach the training, or with advice, with salient information, people that you would need to get in touch with. Why would you touch people? What a weird thing to say. I've got such a strange mind. So you need insurance, as far as I'm aware. Some councils will insist upon a vet's visit in the UK. I would want a room where I could see into the room before entering it. I'd want to be able to lock that room. I have a son. I do not want the animals to be able to escape and get to him. From what I understand, the vivariums are supposed to be affixed to a wall or to the ground, and the ventilation would be front mounted and made extra secure. The reason being is we don't want gaps, gullies or channels where snakes that have escaped can be out of plain sight and cause issues. The room would have to be clutter free. I think some councils insist on the vivarium being double locked, or that might just be for public display. I'm not sure. You see, this is where my deficiency comes. I would need to research it and look into it more. I would only consider crotalids and viperids. I would discount elapids straight away. I think things like the schlegeli, the eyelash viper, crotalus, the rattlesnakes, or bitis, which is, I think it's aritans and gabonica, which are the puff adder and the gaboon viper. So they would potentially be my first ports of call. I would almost definitely have to have the specialist, a specialist vet that I can contact for help and advice. I'd need to be happy with whether it's pinning, tubing, whatever it is that these guys do with DWA to make sure that they're okay, for animal inspections and making sure that everything's okay. Say for example you get retained shed on a snake, I'm going to soak it and I'm going to peel it, and if it bites me, whereas we can't be as blasé with DWA, that's the truth. And do you want to be in a situation where you're making that call? So, that's where tubing it and potentially trying to peel the skin where it's head secure and it's out the way, all the rest of it. Are you confident with snake hooks? Can you handle a snake on snake hooks? Are you good at balancing them? Gloves aren't the best thing. I was listening to a podcast with Julian the other day and he says gloves, you really can't, your dexterity is so badly affected. Pressure's something you can't work out and you don't know whether you're actually hurting the snake. And plus are you stressing the snake? Just by fact it's DWA doesn't mean that we need to be any less aware of the fact that our influence or potential to cause stress on an animal is there. It's a very real consideration. So yeah, working through it, what would I do? I would have been keeping for 10 years. I would have kept a full range of species. I'd have kept species that potentially are on the aggressive side with a view to not being bit and being able to work round them. to be able to build up confidence in working with aggressive or territorial animals, because potentially that's what we might face with a DWA species. Some are perfectly tractable, some are not. So being confident with animals that are arsey, I think, is a good place to be. I would be confident with the topical care and any little husbandry issues that would come up, and I would be able to deal with them and move through them without consulting anybody else on standard snakes. I would have jumped through every hoop that I needed to jump through. I would have not have viewed it as a pain in the arse or something that doesn't need to be done or overkill. I would view it as something I need to take incredibly seriously for the safety of myself and my family and my neighbours, and that it is a privilege, not a right, to be able to keep some of these absolutely stunning species. And when I talk about stunning, some of the venomous stuff, if you look up rhino viper, or some of the gaboon vipers, or like I mentioned, the puff adders, the waggler's pit vipers, pit vipers, white-lip pit vipers, the tropical rattlesnakes, there's a list of stuff, coral snakes. I mean, holy shit, they're pretty. Like, pretty. Amazing. And I can see where the attraction comes from. When you see them in the flesh, like, holy shit, that's a good looking snake. But it's then, bring yourself back down to earth, Chaz. Do you want stress? Do you want problems? Do you want a headache? I don't. I understand why other people do. It's not for me to judge what they want to do. I think that on occasion there can be elements of bravado involved, and I would avoid people like that with like the plague. If you even get the remotest sense that there's arrogance creeping into it rather than respect for the animals that they keep, then avoid those people like the plague, because they're going to cop for it one day, and they're probably a symptom of what you want to try and avoid, and definitely what you don't want to be within this hobby. It's not something I would take lightly at all. Jesus. I would think about this long and hard. I'd discuss with your partner, make sure it's something that is supported. You know, I really take it seriously. I don't the whole idea of hops, even now, just makes me antsy. I don't like it. I don't like the idea at all. Which, in honesty, if I stop and I reflect on that, the way that they make me feel, or even talking about considering doing it, I'm not the best person to ask. But there are people that you will be able to find. But if they're blasé or a bit happy-go-lucky with it, then I wouldn't be taking those kind of people seriously. I would have a problem with them, because I take a corn snake seriously when I'm giving that care advice to little Billy or Mandy. So if I'm asking somebody about, well, how difficult is it really to keep an Eastern Diamondback or a Western Diamondback? And they're like, oh yeah, fuck it, it's fine, no problem. And you're like, really? I need detail, I need advice, I need your input. So if it's just like, meh, then don't talk to people like that. Waste of time. So yeah, glass door, lockable door, make sure that there's no escape routes, make sure that my tanks are secure, that they're held down in a certain place, that there's no clutter and stuff all over the floor for animals that have escaped hiding. So usually these are very clinical rooms, they're very organised, they're very presentable, where the animals can be. Make sure that they're secure. Yeah, and then a very clear set of protocols when it comes to general maintenance, because everything now needs to be thought about. How do you remove a water bottle? Well, with my other snakes in the shop, I'm in, I take the water bottle and I'm out. I scrub it, I fill it, and I put it back in. If I have a rattlesnake sat in that tank, how am I going to go about this? Which end of the tank is it at? Is there a way of safely moving it? Do I safely move it? Is it advisable to move it? Am I going to wind it up and make it strike if I do move it? Do I use a hook? Do I use gloves? Can I use one of these sticks with the bent piece of clear perspex so that it's a block so that I can go in and get the bowl? It's all these kinds of things where there isn't just a just do it. It isn't just do it with venomous snakes ever. It is, How do we do this safely and avoid envenomation? And that's down to everyday maintenance. It's had a turd. How do I go in and safely remove that? What is its strike range? Am I out of its strike range? Even if it's at the other end of the tank, do I still, through safety and due diligence, have to glove up, suit up, whatever, to be able to go in and get that poo out of that tank? This is all the questions that need answering. And it's definitely not something that I would take lightly. I'm not the right person to ask. I fully accept and fully admit that my remit thus far has never made me consider venomous snakes. And I can tell you, I am perfectly comfortable, 27 years into keeping reptiles, to never keep venomous snakes. So they're of no interest to me at all. I think they're wonderful, and there are plenty of keepers that are doing great things. But yeah, I mean, Alex at House of Venom was telling me about breeding taipan, and I'm just there thinking to myself, I'd be having fucking kittens if I'd had a litter of taipan and I had to go in and each of these babies is just as venomous as mum or dad, and now I've got 10 of these little things that I've got to shift them. Done. Count me out. No way. And that's my point. It takes a certain kind of keeper, certain kind of prep, certain kind of willingness to work with those animals for it to happen, and I'm not that guy. I will answer another question. Zach's asked another question which is also interesting, which I'll consider, but I don't just want to keep doing his, I need other people's as well. So please ask your questions in the community section. We will get to them as soon as we can, and we'll keep answering your questions on Chaz's No Bullshit Reptile Advice. See you all soon. All the best. Cheers.